I said, hey, hey, welcome to the Man Cave Happy Hour. I said, hey, hey, welcome to the Man Cave Happy Hour. We're gonna drink a fine whiskey and smoke a really fine cigar.
It is time for happy hour. It is the Man Cave Happy Hour. Whiskey, cigar, spirits, the stories that go along with it. I'm Jamie Flanagan.
I'm August Gitschlag.
I'm Shannon Lowell.
Hey.
Oh, hey. We have another voice here. Mr. Fox is off today. He's busy keeping our financial institutions running smoothly on the Cinco de Mayo.
Financial world's afloat.
Yes, keeping all that stuff. The banking world is better off with him in it right now. So, sorry you're not here, Matt. We have a third person that usually does this with us, but he couldn't get out of work.
He wasn't on a Lamborghini yacht, was he?
No, he was not on a Lamborghini yacht sinking in Miami, no.
Yeah.
Well, he's just keeping afloat.
Yes, he is keeping afloat.
That is. But, so we are downtown Detroit.
And we're not in the
right on the border of Corktown and Southwest Detroit. Is that what you'd call it?
We are. We get to take the anxiety exit. To
oh
get
my
here.
God! Yeah,
the most notorious exit in Detroit.
Oh,
you go right. You're in Canada, buddy.
Yeah,
No turning back. No turning back. My Uber driver's like, I get so scared here. I get so scared. I'm like, stick to the left, honey. You'll be fine.
you just go into duty free and say, hey, I'm an idiot. They're like, okay, pull over there.
She goes, I did it once. I had a gun in the car. I'm like, oh, that wasn't a good day for you. She goes, it was 5 hours of my life I'm never getting back.
Yeah.
I'm like, Lord. She had noticeable anxiety getting off on exit 47C there.
Yeah, a couple of people end up when they end up making those mistakes, they end up in the bar, and they're usually like, it took me 4 hours. I made one mistake, and I got to have a drink because they went through my entire car. But it's happened several times. No matter how many markings they put, how many flags they put up, or anything like that, people still make that mistake. It
happens.
Once again, that whole intersection around the bridge built in, in 2008 is when all that stuff started, and some engineer somewhere decided this was the smartest way to get people to and from Canada, but you still get that kind of confusion right there. That was an interesting time when they built that thing.
Yeah. Well, that's
But is it because it's the border of Southwest Detroit and Corktown?
Well, is it Corktown and Mexicantown?
So is it politically incorrect? Is it culturally insensitive to say Mexicantown, Mexican village?
Well, I think it's always great that when white guys decide where maps should be drawn and how things should be done.
All right. We're just trying to describe where we are.
It depends on who you ask, of course, because it's like it used to be like, Southwest side is anything down to Dearborn.
Yeah.
And it's like, from the shadow of the old tombstone or the train station, however you want to look at it, or you used to look at it, from Michigan Avenue on down, from Corktown to Dearborn is Southwest side. Now, where you choose to draw your definitive lines, the fine tuning of that radio station, that's up to you. Between the train station and the Ambassador Bridge is where we are right now. And as I've grown up here, it's always been in the cracks. You've been stuck between the Irish and the Mexicans. And, and it's just been,
Talk about the butt crack of Detroit.
Well, and a lot of good things and bad things.
I love this city. No, people cannot, because people are like, I can't wait to move. I can't wait to get out of here. I love this town. I'm like, get out of my city. I grew up in 70 Van Dyke.
Yeah. I'm
we were there until like 93.
Yeah. I like bringing people to this specific bar because they never knew it was here.
Right.
Right here in the shadows of Michigan Central, there.
I love that.
And people don't realize it. And then you walk out, you're like, oh, look where I am.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. We're by that.
Before the phones took off and everybody was calling to get directions to get over here, I would answer the phone and someone would say, hey, where are you located? How do you get there? And I'm like, if you got to ask, don't come. And that would be my attitude.
It's probably not going to end well for you.
No, it wasn't. It wouldn't. And for those people trying to discover, go Christopher Columbus on this bar, I'm like, dude, I really don't need any discoveries today. Just if you like the place, bring your friends back, show them where it is, because they most likely know how to behave.
So this place has been in your family for how long?
Long as I've been able to, very long.
All right, so Shannon, let's do that, right? Because we're at Donovan's pub on the border of Corktown. And we're with the owner, Shannon. Shannon, before we get into all the bar and everything, tell me about your childhood.
Oh, my.
Lean into the mic.
I always love that response.
All of it?
I always wait for the response.
Well, I'm sitting upright on a chair. I shouldn't be laying down on a couch somewhere to describe my childhood?
It's fine.
As it pertains to this specific place,
sure. Interpret it however you wish. This is the Man Cave Happy Hour is an interpretive dance.
I vaguely remember the first time I came in here. It was called Patton's Bar.
All right.
Back in the day, I remember that. I still have coats that say Patton's Bar when they had the pool league going on. But this place was owned by a crazy old guy who was on America's Most Wanted, ultimately. His name was Ronnie. My stepdad and his second wife at the time, if I remember my history right, they bought the place from Ronnie. However, Ronnie actually had 4 other partners and a lot of riffraff going on. This is mid 70s to about the early 80s. So, there was fleck paint, T-tops, wide collars, big ties. Big tie knots, lots of hairspray. And, cocaine, craziness, guns, 3rd precinct, which I think it was called the 3rd precinct, then not the 2nd precinct. Yeah. If anybody remembers any cattle prodding incidents, then you'll understand what the name changes were all about between the 2nd and the 3rd precinct. But that's how long it's been since I've been coming in here, which was back when it was Patton's. And there used to be stuff going on in here, which, we'd come down on a Saturday to go to the newly open Mexican Village Cafe down the street.
Yeah, with that new joint.
Right, it was so very new that you like everything, you had factions of people who that's the place you go for that food. That's the place you go for that food. Yeah. And I remember just being a little kid seeing little cockroaches running around on the table, and we just shush them away and go for the food. But okay, back to childhood and coming in here.
So
it was.
How did your family come into owning it?
My stepdad, his second wife, had passed away, and got together with my mom basically. And my mom started working here probably in the early mid '80s.
Okay.
And that's when, soups were here on Saturdays and Sundays. We had caldos on Saturdays, menudo on Sundays. And once again, coming in here, and don't ask me why I was, my mom would bring me to a bar on the Southwest Side, but, I had friends. And I'm talking like at the age of 9. But on soup day, I remember sitting here playing with the pool table like all kids do, slamming balls around with their hands, not actually playing, but then waiting for soup those days. And then there was this little lady, rest her soul. Her name was Marlene. She had a burgundy hair, dyed burgundy, and then a white stripe in the hair. And she was the numbers runner. She was one of the first people I met in here.
I love it.
And she was the one who was always wearing tight fitting jeans. And in the pockets of her tight-fitting jeans were the folded money. I mean, we're talking.
So you could see the rectangles in her pants.
Oh, dude, little lumps of like a full-on man wallet in every pocket. And she did that for several reasons. She told me later. One, so people, yes, I have money in my pockets, and you don't want to touch me or these pockets because I also have, several people watching me. Exactly. So she was the one who would start telling me, trying to teach me how to play pool. And basically, even she got fed up with me one day and said, you know what, go to college. You don't need to be playing pool. The people, go get an education because you're not doing anything on this table. But,
well, it's quite the contrast because where did you end up in college? At a military academy. Yeah, so that's the exact opposite of being the child in the bar running loose with the numbers running lady.
Right. Well, that's good stories. The English degree. I mean, I could bartend just about anywhere in town. That's if I can remember how to make any of these drinks nowadays.
So, but your mom started working here?
Yeah.
And then what led that to the family?
Well, then it was my mom and stepdad. They were here. I was working.
I love the numbers runner, but
yeah.
Oh yeah. That was Marlene. Oh, I won't even tell you because it was Marlene, Freddie Martinez, Victor Vicente Olvalle. These were the guys who went to college late in life because they got busted. They had to close the whole 18th Street down with the DEA and FBI guys.
So you got to lean in more.
No,
yeah,
he's good.
Okay,
he's good.
But let me know if tell me, I'll do that. I get animated. They closed on the street. All of them. They used to work here too towards the end, and it's like Marlene had to wear a tether towards the end.
Oh boy.
Freddie, he went away. We had to send him $5 bills so he could buy tomatoes in college. And
College.
And then Vicente, his college career ended up in, I think he ended up in not Ohio. I think it was in Indiana. He was gone for about a year, and then he popped back on the scene straight.
It's just enough time for an associate's.
Oh yeah, basically. Yeah. But those were those people.
For.
But my mom and stepdad they hunkered down here, and let's see, I got through high school. Continue. I had my 21st birthday in this joint, and the bar down the street, because all the bar owners knew each other, right. And whether they liked each other or not didn't matter. They all knew each other.
Which was the bar down the street at the time?
That was Giovanna's, and that was Joanna and her daughter Irena. Very fantastic people, but like, the mother hen running that bar. We had a mother. My mom was the mother hen down here, and mother hens don't like sharing space or the same opinion. Yeah. But those were those times. I started forward fast from my childhood up until like hireable age. After I started to past my 21st birthday. I guess it was in 93, 94 is when I got here.
Mm-hmm.
And
were you just working here, or when did the mantle get passed to you?
And then the name changed because it was Patton. So
Patton's Donovan's. My stepdad and his second wife changed it to Donovan's. Her middle name was Donovan. It was a family.
There we go. So that's where it comes from.
So and because we're once again in the in the cracks between Corktown and Mexicantown, or whatever, however you want to label it. It was always one of those things. We were right next to the 3rd precinct. This was the safest bar. It could have an odd name, and everybody knew what the name was because that was on the building. But it never really mattered what the name was on this building, whether it was Patton's or Donovan's or, Giovanna's was Gio's or Joanna's. It was Joanna's. This was Mingo's. Everybody named it Cupitas for little cups because everyone was drinking shots in here every chance they got. Everybody on the street had their own nickname that they called the place, and this one had several of them. And
how long do you have the like this was a bar since 1921? Or do you have like an old deed on there that tells you when this is put together?
Vaguely, I do the search. I think it's the 60. From the bricks, the cinder blocks around the building pretty much tell you that it happened in the mid 60s, mid to late 60s, because of the way the cinder blocks are.
Later than I expected.
It was. When it was Patton's, however, this room was arranged a lot differently. The pool table was down at that end. The jukebox was down at this end, and the riffraff and the trouble always ended up down there. There were 2 bullet holes in the walls there. There was a
what?
Yeah, there was a naked, just imagine like a Playboy centerfold.
Yes.
Along that wall, about 8 feet, and it was one of those not decoupage. What is that stuff? You put plastic over things, like when you put quarters on a bar and you put
it was laminated. It was
whatever that day. Yeah. But that was sitting right there, and one night somebody got all ticked off in here back when it was Patton's, and shot her right in each tit, and that was that. That got
be an interesting night.
Yeah, this place burned down in between Patton's and Donovan's too, and that's what facilitated my stepdad and his second wife for getting it. They got
Where did the name Donovan's come from?
It was her middle name.
Oh,
yeah, it was her middle name.
It was hers.
Is that the girl that they shot over there in the corner?
Huh?
Is that the pinup girl?
No, that one actually came. No, that was when I was getting here. That was from an East Town delivery, a delivery guy. He brought that in. This place used to open up at 8:00 in the morning, and we had to be.
It was lacquered.
Lacquered. That's what the word is.
Holy crap! I've been struggling with that for the last 2 minutes.
I got lacquered on Saturday.
Yeah, it's like
fair play.
Just remember shellacking in a bar.
Lacquered. Yes, shellac.
Okay. All right. But the deliveries in here, everything in here was done. We had to be ready by 8 because we had to catch the people getting off shift next door at the precinct or the post office down the street. They're no longer at it. I think they still do some stuff down there, but we would catch those shifts and people would be wandering through. Southwest General was still rather new at the time, so we'd catch a couple of those.
In the future DCFC Stadium?
Yeah, that's a joint. Yeah, and good luck to those boys. I'm glad they,
They got a hospital tear down still, so we'll see when they get around to it. So,
and I'm really surprised. I looked over there at how much actual footprint they have. I was just wondering where exactly the train tracks were gonna, how they were gonna accommodate the train tracks in their design of this thing. But they're used to do that at the Keyword Stadium.
They got a train that goes through, and it's a big part of it. Everyone loves it, Train goes right there, and right behind the goal.
But dude, they're down at the end of the block. So I'm like, dude, I hope they start their marches here.
Well, they darn well could. I mean, I don't know where they're going to start, to be honest with you. They might start at the McShane's, Nemo's, where all the bars are together, But you're going to do just fine here. Yeah, you're going to do great.
So this has been a mainstay of the area because I've been coming down to Mexicantown. Xochimilco's is my favorite one since probably 85.
Sure.
And then just
I always liked Armando's because it's full of all the 1984 Tigers celebration pictures in there. After they won the World Series, they all went to Armando's and they let them take pictures and put them on the walls.
Colleen loves El Zocalo's more than that, but
okay.
The stories are there. I got a little thumbprint picture down there at the end of the bar of Aurelio Lopez. He's
Senior Smoke.
I think I got the right one. He was the one. After the Tigers games back when they were down on Michigan Trumbull there, they would come in. The Mexican guys would come in here and hang out with the boys and sign autographs. The last time, Aurelio Bobcat, the guy who sold cars down the street to everybody, he was in here with his wife, Aurelio. Is that right? Aurelio
Lopez.
Right.
Yes.
The one who got killed.
There's Willie. There's Juan Berenguer, Aurelio Lopez, and Willie Hernandez were the big three.
Right, but I hope I have the right one. Right, the one that got pinned down there. He was coming out of El Rancho. Some woman, epileptic, lost her license, still driving the car, ended up crashing into him and pinning him into the telephone pole. They were in here that night. And they all went down to eat at El Rancho. It was better food back then too. It's gotten a little. Don't want to talk about it. But they all went down there.
But those guys would come in here.
Yeah, they were coming
here. His Mexican Hispanic
Tigers. It was Aurelio Lopez was killed in an auto accident the day after his 44th birthday. After
their games and
and if you go down next to El Rancho, you see the telephone pole right there, and on the pole you'll see a little commemorative to him.
I've never noticed that.
And that is the pole that she pinned him in.
That's a.
Bob Cap's wife, she got some knee damage. She was in the hospital for a minute, and she came out just fine eventually, but it took her a long time to rehab through it. And it was just a tragic loss for sure to the neighborhood. But that was how tight things were. And it was Papa Grande would get his haircut down there at Lupe's, a barber down the street. I mean, everybody would just kind of commingle down here without worrying about whether or not they're getting deported or turned right and end up in El Salvador, because they
that was also before camera phone pictures and people weren't, chasing you around like that.
True.
But again, this has been a mainstay of the area.
True.
I remember it from.
So I used to come down here and see boxing matches back when I was in college, out of college with my buddies. You had that big, was it the Rodriguez show? Right when Sugar Man came out, and we had that show.
We were emerging from once again the Gateway Project really knocked us out.
All this construction, right?
It was just stupid.
It's a major piece of infrastructure, man.
Oh, it was.
Right around the block.
But the thing was, we were connected to that part of town, to the Hispanic part of town, and they put a 15 sign detour between that side of the 75 Verner Bridge right there and this bar. You had to go all the way back out to Michigan Avenue and do 15 signs to get over here. All my customers evaporated in one instant.
What year? When was that?
It was 2008, 9, and then I think around 10 is when Rodriguez, because I knew him from Cass Corridor days, and we got to talking, and he said, "Dude, I'm gonna come over there, and we're gonna put some air into your bar." Like, what's that mean, dude? That was his way he expressed it. He was like, "Dude, it's about air. You gotta just." You got to breathe some air into it. It's going to get sliced back.
I'll take it. Whatever.
Yeah. And he did. And it was a quite, I think I had Mueller boys were working here, brother team bartenders. They were here. Everyone was really happy about it. The hipster kids were all getting all googly eyed over the whole dang idea. And it was pretty damn good. I was Rodriguez. I always knew him as Rodriguez. And I was like, yeah, come on and play. And he's playing, and just the people lined up.
Oh,
like,
the place was jammed.
Yeah.
You know, back in the Dally days, he'd just be sitting on the hump of the grass somewhere by the alley, and we'd just be getting high. And
we should include the fact that Shannon used to run Dally in the Alley. Now he's the co-chair of the Hamtramck Labor Day Festival.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, I deal with this guy all the time for years, which is why I said it's about time we did something from down at Donovan's Pub, a spot that we haven't been to. Hey guys, I got a Mexican joke for you. You ready?
Oh boy.
What
Sure,
did
I'll
it
take it on my- Let's be as respectful as we can.
Why was the Mexican guy taking Xanax? To deal with Hispanic attacks.
Oh my god.
It's a good, clean Mexican joke.
That's a good joke. That's
Oh
kind.
my.
It's a dad joke.
Now, would you tell that same joke if this bar was full?
Absolutely, because it's not insulting. It's just silly play on words. It's a good
joke.
It's a repeatable joke.
Now, there's a point there too, though. When I started working here, you know, I was basically one of maybe two, including customers and my mother. I think maybe one of maybe 5 or 6 white people that could hang out in here and not be like looked at crooked. You know, there's of all the things that make noise in here. I mean, conversations, bitching, you know, arguing, doing whatever. The thing that makes a lot of noise, that door, the main entrance door, the one that you come through, I can go and close it right now, and you could hear it squeak from where we're sitting. And the thing is, I never oil that door. Because
for a reason.
When that door makes a noise, everybody's eyes comes up from whatever they're looking at, and they glance at the door, and they want to see who's coming in, because you have to size somebody up within 30 seconds, or else you're in. You know,
my
if you
parents
don't do that.
have had a squeaky gate in their backyard forever, and one day I went to oil it, and my dad's like, "What the hell are you doing?" I go, "I'm oiling it." He goes, "How am I going to know if anyone's coming in?"
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you know, it was just weird because everybody knew everybody coming in this place. Even if you didn't know them, you know the type of person they were, and that would be it. I mean, right at that door, there was also a payphone. I mean, you know, somebody would come in to use the payphone, and if they had the shoelaces in their hand, they'd be asking to borrow 50 cents, and you just give them the 50 cents as they're lacing up their boots and getting back into things.
Shoelaces.
You know, usually around the morning hour when they kick everyone out of the cells next door. But that was with that. But yeah, no, this place has been around. It's, you know, bars back then too. The bar I grew up in, this one maybe it still has the history of it, but you know, cash everyone's checks on Friday, lend people money for caskets. I mean, you know, the bars were no. When somebody would have a funeral or somebody would get hurt, somebody abruptly died, you know, you pass the coffee can around. You go and talk to the people with the money. Can I borrow some? And I got to fly the body back to Mexico. You know, bars were for that. That was the purpose.
So it's interesting. The last 2 bars we were in, community was a big part of the conversation. Yeah. And then because you have the commercial bars, right, coming into a community, and then they do their darndest to try to reach out and become part of the community. Now, Donovan's was part of the community from the get-go. So you started here, the community was here, and so you had that naturally. And I think that's a pretty cool thing. That it just, because you've been here so long. So what are some of the things about Donovan's today that we should know about?
Oh, well, man, that's a big, wide open question. So it's what it.
I mean, you're not open at 8 a.m. anymore.
No.
You're not doing that.
No. But the things that are important are still the same. Yeah. You know, clean, safe. You know, no drugs, no BS. You know,
Corktown. I mean, it probably about 6 years ago to like 10 years ago, Corktown was having some trouble. You know,
it's clearly unrecognizable now from what it was 10 years ago. But
yeah. And everybody looks at those things too, though. It's like
it's safer, much safer.
You know, the dark period, literally the dark period during that. It took me 5 years, I think, to get streetlights back on.
Yeah.
That's
so it literally was dark out.
It was seriously dark out.
Yeah.
I mean, and there were nights here that I wasn't willing to stay here. I mean, I got the heebie-jeebies, so I just say, I'm not going to die for $70, and I just blouse up and go home. Now, that's why I got all the lights around here, and that's why this place is lit up like a Christmas tree, because I knew I was going to be the only one left on this corner anyway. Anybody who's still around, you know, they come by, they check out their old haunts like anybody, but, you know, your neighborhood bar, the one that you nicknamed because of small cups or whatever, that was your spot. And, your stomping ground. And we still have a lot of connective tissue to those memories for a lot of people here at this bar. The new bars that are made nowadays, God bless their cherished pursuit of the dollar bill. But, I'm kind of not the best business guy in the world, but I'm not really here to make $1 million off of somebody who just wants to hang out and enjoy a drink before they got to go home and get yelled at by the wife and kids. It's just the better place to be is here for the most part until it isn't. Everyone kind of figures it out. But what kind of I've always wanted to make. I've always been part of a bar that I want to be part of. I always want to make a bar that I would want to go to and I could afford to go to.
The resurgence in this area, though, right, in the last 6 years to now, is insane.
But when you say resurgence, though,
crazy.
No, when you say resurgence,
because I've been coming. I've never not come down here.
But is it clean and shiny and it looks?
Is it in resurgence or is changing demographics, changing clientele, changing? I guess resurgence is one way to put it. How would you put it, Shannon? Since you're in the middle of
traffic flow, is it changing traffic flow?
I
would say
definitely a change of the customer base and what the neighborhood makeup is changing.
Right.
And you start throwing around gentrification and all these other words that people love doing.
Yeah.
That's it's whoever's here right now. Now, while we have that sentiment, just grab a hold of the idea here, though, is that what this place has always been and what it continues to be is a sustainable place to hang out. These places, these really neat places that you see popping up everywhere. Yeah. For a couple or two people to go in. A couple to go in, appetizer, which is like, 2 eggs cut in half for $20, and, $50 drinks. You're spending $120 with tip for just a half an hour's worth of time. It's unsustainable.
I was talking to Tom T, my buddy Tom T yesterday about that. It's like, you just can't, you can go out twice a month. Yeah. Otherwise you're dropping 100. If you're with your date, you're dropping $220 a night.
Oh yeah.
And I would rather have, if you could have, say you have 3 beers every day, that's going to keep my lights on. If you have 1 drink every day, 1 shake and drink, which I hate when I see these things, I just want to see somebody having a good conversation, sincere conversation, shotting a beer, and do that with their friends, catch up, watching TV, bitching about the news like everybody else.
You know where I was for 18 years. That was a shot in a beer bar that everyone knew everyone's name. It was a Cheers of Hamtramck over there, next to another Cheers and Baker's, and the other Cheers, the Sea League, and
you're a great steward of that of that generation of people trying to get along in that town, and even those people have either moved on, grown up, gotten past the whole bar world, but it's just like that batch of people that ran through whiskey or runs through this, hopefully they got those memories that carry them along with the other things that happen.
Yeah. And then, every couple months they come back, just poke their head in on the way back from a Tiger game or something.
I remember why I stopped coming here. All that stuff. I remember why I ain't been in here in forever. Yeah. Thanks for keeping the lights on.
Yeah.
Thanks for contributing.
Well, no, it ain't like it used to be. Well, ain't nothing like it used to be, buddy.
Do you really want it to be like that?
Yeah, I agree with you.
I agree
with you, Shannon. Yeah. Well, as long as they're, I don't mind it, but as long as they spend money and they don't get pretentious.
True.
You don't want me to put more than 3 ingredients in a drink, then I don't really give a shit,
Yeah.
I'm not going to. We always kept 1 martini glass in the bar, and that was it.
I've got 2.
You have 2.
Oh,
okay.
Fair play.
I count 4.
Maybe
but
so it's the reflection.
Oh, it's the reflection.
Okay, it might be.
No,
that's for the bachelorette party.
Points taken, yeah.
So
when one person orders a Cosmo, they all want them, right?
Yeah, whenever I hear that shaker go, I turn around, I crane. I'm like, what the hell's going on down there?
All right. But there's some really neat knickknacks and artifacts and things in here. There's an Alvin's Detroit bar clock over the corner. How do you have the Alvin's clock? What is that?
That's been on a journey.
All right.
It's been on a journey.
Go ahead, talk.
All right. Just don't let's see. Alvin's bar was down in the Cass corridor across from the nurse building.
Well, it's now next to the Carhartt built
he's got that
Carhartt
Tony
store
T's or something like that.
That Carhartt store
Jenny
used to be a parking garage.
Right.
When I used to work the door at Alvin's for Cornwell.
There you go.
Back in the day.
Yeah. So Alvin's is going on. It was run by a woman by the name of Bernadette. She had it, and if you ever walked through there, you slice through what used to be like, it looked like a delicatessen when you walk in, but when you snuck on back there, it got to be a really dark, really great sounding room for all music, everything music. And so a lot of bands, a lot of musicians cut their chops there. Iggy was there. I mean, there was a bunch of stuff going on.
My dad used to bring wood, and my dad would go there in the 70s when he was in school at Wayne State. He would bring wood for the fire pit. They had an open burn fire pit in the middle, right when you walked in the back, right when you walked in the front door.
Yeah, that went over really well in the 80s, by the way.
Well, then they did a gas fire pit. It was a gas fire pit. This is a funny story. You're going to love this. They made a gas fire pit, and then when Cornwall and those guys bought it, they tore the fire pit out. They're like, no, we're not going to have a fire pit in the goddamn bar. It's crazy. And so there's these little 1-inch holes in the floor where the gas pipes came through. So we're having a meeting there one day, and Richard Bernstein's there. Our Supreme Court Justice, Rick Bernstein. And he's got his cane, and he's standing around, and he goes, hey, Chris. Og, like, yeah, what's up? He goes, my cane's gone. What do you mean your cane's gone? Well, I dropped it. I don't know where it went. It was just in my hand, and then it was gone. He literally had tapped it on the hole in the floor, and it went into the basement. Chris is like, oh my God. He ran downstairs and got his cane from the downstairs, and then went through the 1-inch hole that the old gas pipe came through for the fire pit.
Lord,
and
that's great.
So yes, Alvin's was going strong. I think I had a crush on. There was a girl named Sabrina Sanders that used to work there, and I had a crush on her. So I'd go in there. I see the clock, whatever. That's where it came. And by the way, the bar was so dark. I mean that thing is a dark clock. Dark purple. The light was muted.
Neon.
That was the lightest thing in that room. So whatever. So that was there. And then when Alvin's was going under, basically, they had an auction. And at that auction, everybody who owned all the other places in town wanted to help out Bernadette and get her out of the debt that the place had accumulated. So everybody came with big fat bills to basically buy that.
Overbid and help her out. Yeah,
buy a baseball for $500 kind of thing. So it was a guy by the name of Chuck Roy who owned Cass Cafe, still does. But he went to the auction and he bought a few items. Other owners bought a lot of stuff. But he got the Alvin's clock, and he had it up in the Cass Cafe, right above, I guess if you remember, like the coffee station at the end of the bar. He had it on the wall there. And they have him tell the story. It's just like he had it there, and it was great. It worked for a while. Then the clock broke. And then the thing was, he never had a sign on the Cass Cafe, so people just knew it as the Cass Cafe or Chuck's place, kind of like this place, Cupita's or Mingo's or Shannon's or whatever. Yeah. And people knew it as something else, but they never had a sign. So when they would come in and see the Alvin's neon lit up, they would go, "Hey, is this Alvin's?" And you'd be like, "No, it's not." So he got tired of that. The clock finally broke, and he took it down. And he apparently put it in a garage, and that's where it was. Well, maybe a couple of years ago, I was like, Chuck was helping me out with something. I go, "Chuck, you still got that clock?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Sell it to me." And he goes, "Well, you don't want that. It's broken." I'm like, "Yeah, I do."
It'll be right twice a day.
Matter of fact, I do.
And I told him the story, kind of like I'm telling y'all now here. It's like, dude, I want to hang it up in a bar and let people talk about it, not finger screw their phone. I mean, I want people to sit and look at something and have a conversation. Hey, I remember when I saw Iggy there. Hey, I remember when the sound guy from Labor Day Festival, Bruce was there, or somebody was there. I mean, those are conversations that you can cherish, not something you can mean to each other. That annoys me. Yeah. The phones do, by the way. I miss the days when you had one payphone, and when somebody would look for you, you had to put "Hey, are you here? Somebody's calling for you." That was none of this instant access.
Yeah, when the payphone rings in a bar, everyone's like, "Oh shit, who's looking for who?" Hey, Sammy, it's your old lady again.
Schmiggities.
Are you here or not? It's gonna cost you $5.
Yeah. So the Alvin's clock, I asked to buy it. I got it, and then I'm looking at it. There's a guy actually in Hamtramck, I'm going to space his name right now. He's a neon guy. The neon was broken a little bit. Put a lot of time into it, fixed the clock, put it up here, and it's done exactly what I wanted to do. You've even asked about it.
I love it. Love it.
There's one of the guys who used to work for Bernadette. He wandered through here one day. He actually almost fell on the floor in shock. He goes, "I haven't seen that thing in forever." Tearfully, he says, "If you ever want to sell that," I'm like, "No, it's priceless to me. Yeah. The stories are priceless. Yeah. The memories are priceless." And it's not some kitchen-fied kit that shows up in a semi-tractor trailer and you're thinking, God, it used to be Friday in your place. You know, it actually has some substantial tissue that connects it to the history that other people have enjoyed. Yeah.
So what else you got going on, Shannon? What's coming up here? Anything?
So it's Cinco de Mayo, right?
Yeah.
So there was a parade yesterday.
Yesterday must have been the real shit show, huh?
That was, you know.
So I've been here on parade day when there's just all these fields are just full of cars and trucks.
Yeah.
And trucks and
every year, it's really weird. They've been throwing it for what, 30, 60 years or something. And every year it's like they're throwing it for the first time. And this year they changed it up again. They started at Patton, went down to Clark, then turned about face and went back to Patton for the festival.
So everybody start backing up.
Right.
Start backing up.
But there are two events that go on. You got the parade and then the festival.
Right.
So those two being thrown the same day, I was just talking to somebody about this, and they're considering maybe not throwing the festival part, just doing the parade and then separating off the festival for a warmer climate and a more, you know, like during the middle of the summer kind of thing. Yeah. But the numbers from yesterday, I mean, if you read the newspapers and kept up on whatever, just asked around, you know, the weather sucked.
Yeah. It was a crappy weather day. The Strawberry Festival in Hamtramck suffered too. I got rained out.
Yeah. But at least they go downstairs in that.
They go downstairs. They go in the tent, right?
Right.
Yeah, there was the Irish Festival at the St. Patrick's Center yesterday too.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, if it's a building that's warm, you're doing good. But that parade did okay. But from the numbers I saw, I asked the person who threw it, and she said, you know, 6,000 is pushing it. What's usually a 10.
So how did you do it? Because you're just kind of separated from that. You know, you always get the overflow.
Because they didn't bring it all the way down here, because Manny Maroon and the bridge didn't do anything behind here, and they didn't have a reason to, you know, hopscotch down to here or leapfrog down here. People really didn't come down here this year. Now, years past, like, you know, it's been bumper to bumper. There's been, you know, a quarter-mile line off the exit here.
Everyone parked on the grass all along the freeway. It was like, you know,
depending on how it was. This was not that year, and not only did the weather suck, but then, you know, the political weather sucked. You know, and you can read whatever you want into that, and everyone can just figure that out. But you know, you had a choice of either standing on the side and being plucked out, or I'm going to say that one right. I mean, you being hunted down, pulled out, and then not burned at a stake, but thrown into an El Salvadorian one-way prison. I mean, those are your choices nowadays, right? You get screwed up at the border, you end up in El Salvador.
Not the good.
I mean, I giggle, but shit.
And
if you don't, you're like, God damn, this is actually happening in our world right now.
Right. So, and when that is a different topic for some other.
Well, they're not going to go to El Salvador. They're going to start going to Alcatraz.
Yeah.
They're going to reopen Alcatraz. That was announced today.
That'll be the new one.
Yeah.
Place
with no running water is a really good idea.
So, but down here, it was pretty cheap. Now, it's been so busy in years previous, other bars just closed. I mean, last year, I think there was a bar down the street who just totally whipped people up. Like January 6th, their crowd, and they were just going menacing in the middle of the street out in front of El Club.
Jeez.
And the cops shut them down, shut the whole thing down. That became like a thing for a minute. But that was one of those things that went into the decision this year to about face and send it back the other direction. And I think it didn't work any better or worse for the event itself, but it didn't, you know, it was definitely easier to contain for the powers that be. And, you know, ultimately safety is the most important part of an event like that. And from what I heard, only one incident happened, had nothing to do with it. It was on Michigan and the boulevard there. Somebody did something stupid in it.
Yeah, you get that many people together, there's always bound to be a knucklehead.
Yeah, we used to keep a tally every year. You know, how many people got messed around with, you know, like 5 people in Clark Park, how many times a gun goes off. I mean, but that's kind of, you know, one of those, what do you call it? You're walking without a net around here. If you fall, you're going to get hurt. So, I mean, it's a real live place where it's like, got to behave yourself. You know, and if you don't, well, then you really got to get away from that kind of stuff.
So if we were to leave here and go and get a margarita and tacos, where do you say we should go?
Oh, I'd park here and walk across that $8 million walk bridge into,
exactly.
go over to Los Galanes. That's a family-owned place still. And you like Los Galanes, now Zocalo's, I think. Now, what just turned into Taqueria El Rey over there? Was that Zocalo's or Xochimilco's? Which one was it?
El Zocalo's.
Zocalo's. And that used to be owned by a guy named Hugo Delgado.
Yeah,
Victor.
That was white building.
Right. New, he was an interesting fella. He looked like Peter Lorre. For a little bit. Yeah, he really did. Well, you got to remember too, when he opened his place up, it was him and Armando. It was the guy's name, no relation to Armando's down the street, but he got in a fight over parking with the guy across the street from him. It's like Zocalo's and Xochimilco's got in a fight, and it was all about parking. Yeah. Well, then the other guy beat the snot out of Victor to the point where it made his eye bulge out of his head.
Jeez.
The guy who did the beating, he went to jail for a minute. And it
College.
all just I'm sorry, you're right. He went to finish the school.
Yes.
That kind of calmed down over a while. But Victor ended up picking up lots and putting a lot of effort into building his little empire over there. And the weird thing happened, like so often does, that when the patriarch or the matriarch, whoever's in charge of the family, when they finally give up the ghost, the children and the people who come after really don't want to have anything to do with things. And that's what happened with Victor's place, that it was offered to his family, the children, from what I understand, and they weren't really into it. They'd seen what happened to their dad. They didn't want that life. They just said, let's just sell it down. Let's just do it. So it's become something else. It's been, repurposed to do something else. And I think those are good things, because it still has, once again, that connective tissue that people, when they remember things and they talk about the people who own them, that those are true, actual, authentic memories of the place, not something that's been, cardboard plastered to a wall somewhere.
I'm a junkie for Sochi's.
I mean, I've been there a bazillion times. I like the places.
If I ever had to leave the state for some reason, I would have to get food airlifted to me every couple of months.
Yeah, I prefer the patios and sitting outside and doing all that.
So much. It's different, and it's just slightly different. There's a different taste than other typical Mexican restaurants. There's just something special about it for me. For me.
I don't know. I think last time I was there, I got put in the holding cell upstairs, and I was like, I gotta wait up here by this little bar, wait to get downstairs. I'm like, I'll go.
But they serve drinks up there.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm always in. I'm like.
Well, that's why I stopped going to.
There'll be a wait. We're like, yay! Let's go upstairs.
What's the horse racing bar over there?
Oh my! Oh,
crap! Why am I drawing a blank? The one, Green Dot.
Oh,
Green Dot.
One, yeah.
We went to sit down. And
I thought you were talking about Joey Stables downriver back in the old days.
They wouldn't let Kat and I sit at the bar and have a drink. Said you can only sit at the bar if you're eating food. Like, what are you talking about? He goes, "You want drinks? Go in the back. You got to go in the back there." I'm like, well, I gotta go stand in your little holding pen back there.
That little tiki? Yeah, I don't like those guys.
And then they're like playing bags back there and a bunch of frat boys. I'm like, no. I want to sit at the bar, have a cocktail, watch the game.
There's the Green Dot kids, right?
Green Dot. And they're like, no, you gotta order food if you're sitting at the bar. I'm like, just because you said that, I'm not going to. I would have ordered cheese sticks or something dumb just so I could sit there, but I didn't do it. And so we went to go back, and it was the same thing. They put us in the back room and said, no, you gotta wait back here. I'm like, the entire bar's open. Why can't I sit down and have a cocktail? I'll spend money. I'm like, no. I'm like, well, that's a dumb rule. Bye. There's a lot of other choices these days.
Yeah.
I don't need an ostrich slider. I'll be okay. Well, that's the kind of goopy stuff they have on the menu.
Yeah,
they're
for
mystery.
$1, but you got to buy $20 for it just to get
giraffes.
Get your
giraffe slider and stuff like that. They always got something weird, which is cool. I mean, I might get takeout one day, but I'm going to go in there again.
It's not this. I'm guessing it's better, but when they first opened, I'm doing my thing down here. It was a Patty's Day parade. So Patty's Day is just a hunkin' mess around here. Yeah. Everyone's on foot. They're being stupid, but what they're going to do? They just need a
you're not that far. You're close enough to get Cinco de Mayo and St. Patrick's Day parades. You're right in the middle.
We're the day walker, or we're like I said, we're in the cracks in between two party cultures, I guess. But I remember the new batch of kids that were at Green Dot at the time. They were in here, and there was this little snot that was wearing some sort of like Batman and Robin utility belt. That was his cocktail waitress had. I don't know what his little outfit. And he was in here giving my old school bartender, which back then we called them barmaids, giving they're
still hear barmaid every once in a while.
Good. I'm glad we can still say that.
Yeah, I mean, they're not all mixologists. You still are some dive bars out there, you know.
And by the way, a barmaid will yell at you, curse at you, and kick you out.
Absolutely.
And a bartender will, we'll have to call someone.
We'll let you stay there as long as you're spending money.
Right. But okay, so the barmaid's getting ticked off because she's had a long day. It's separate. And this little kid with the utility belt, he is acting the fool. She's freaking out. I just happened to come back from, I had to go home, get changed, came back. I come back in here and she's freaking out. She's shaking. She's so angry. And I'm like, what happened? What's going on? Off your meds, you need a drink? What? And she goes, no, that kid is pissing me the hell off. And I'm like, well, I'll take care of him. Went over him. And sure enough, he's 9 sheets to the wind. I'm like, what's your name? And I don't know, Martin or something like that. I'll never remember. And I go, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I wanted this, that, the other. And she goes, no, he's being a jerk. I'm like, dude, you got to go. I go, where do you work? And he goes, you told me, Green Dot. I'm like, why don't you take your ass back to Green Dot and start treating those people working there like you're treating this one right here. Get out of here and don't ever come back. I did that, and I swear to God, you can hear a pin drop in this bar and all the way down this bar, which we got 16 chairs. Okay, that one not included, 15 people as that kid's walking out. We're clapping. Because it's like, that's not how you treat people.
My girlfriend right now is in some island community in South Carolina and doing country clubs and all this shit with her friends. She's like, this place just makes me appreciate our relationship and how much I enjoy dive bars with you. She's like, I just don't like this bougie shit.
When you say dive,
there's a moment for those. You can go have a cocktail, at Hard Luck or Sugar House once, and it's fine. But this is my seat. Oh, yeah. We're sitting in my kind of bar right here.
And it's like, respect is I'm not gonna say it's not on the menu, but it's like when you walk into a place that's a good dive bar, and I'm not really laying claim to that moniker here, but it's just a respectful place, and it just happens to be vintage in its presentation.
So Donovan's Pub, do you consider yourself an Irish bar? Because it's got a definitively Irish name to it being
you got a crest.
And then we'll get to the crest too. That was going to be my second question. Okay. So, do you consider yourself an Irish pub?
I'm going to go. No,
man, I'm seeing a giant shamrock on your shirts, dude.
But it's a community bar.
It's just because, like I said, when you start throwing labels and names on stuff, it gets weird. But
you put the label on that shirt.
I know. It's the logo that we got, and it's between the crest, the family crest,
And I have the family crest hoodie.
We've modified that crest instead of a sword. We've had a pool cue in there for our pool league.
Oh, there you go.
Back when we could afford to do that with time and money, but that whole thing was rigged. We could talk about that stuff.
Okay, well, different.
Yeah. But no, the an Irish bar. When I first showed up here, it was a swinging D Mexican bar, and that's the way I grew up. It was a neighborhood
swinging D Mexican
it's a neighborhood bar.
And that's what it was. If all right, you had to. You stood out, behaved yourself, and you can come back. Now, whether you want to be an Irish person and have that same attitude, sure, it's an Irish bar. You want to be a Mexican person and have that same attitude, that's a Mexican bar. If you want to be an American, it's an American. It's whatever bar it needs to be, as long as you're not a schmuck. And as long as you don't screw things up.
I'm working the cliche, and I got a Guinness. But that's my go-to.
Well, I got a Modelo just because it's Cinco de Mayo, and I don't drink a lot of beer anymore. So when I'm here, I'm like, I'll have a beer. I always do Guinness. It's like 99% of the time. Yeah.
But I called up
every bottle.
I called up a couple of shots.
Yes.
Powers. You got Powers up there, which is a pretty fine Irish whiskey.
You don't see that in bars, even in Irish bars. You don't see Powers.
You don't always see it. Yeah, so I was like, let's do a pair of the Powers and kind of toast Donovan's and. Thank you for being a host with us today.
Well, I appreciate this exposure, and I appreciate your conversation.
Yeah,
Both of you.
We're not done.
Thank God. Well, let's keep rolling.
All right. Did you drink yours already?
I did about a half hour ago.
I was waiting to talk about it before I drank it.
I drive people to drink.
Yeah, well, you have.
Yeah, well, that's that. But Irish bar now, Matt.
Okay.
Location, geography.
Neighborhood bar. I like it.
Is something. State of mind is something else.
So you got these. You got on the coolers.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed, and it was kind of like.
The Halloween decoration.
The wood thing, but there's like little spooky kind of faces.
Very fitting.
Creeping out of the.
Very fitting. And you pointed out the decoration and the way the place looks.
There you go, Jamie. I got another Powers.
No, Nancy in the back in the other one. Go in the other one. Yeah. So my mom was, she was the incredible woman who still is, but for decorations for holidays. By the way, Cinco de Mayo, I didn't decorate, but it used to be dripping from the ceiling. Halloween, Christmas, all the holidays, all of them. I mean, every square inch of this place. And back then, one of the things I did before I was able to drink, but still hung out in here, was hang the garland around the room.
Okay. Yeah.
And it had to change for every holiday. Mm-hmm. And every holiday was decorated for. And we're talking 10, 12, 15, 20 of those plastic containers full of decorations, 500 bunnies for Easter and all this stuff.
500 bunnies.
One of the things that happened
this place was never short on decorations back in the day. Yeah.
Well, I whittled them down considerably.
I've spent over 500 on bunnies before, but that was different.
Well,
never mind.
Okey-dokey. But so it was one Halloween, and this was back when I mentioned the previous group, like my mom's generation of people hanging out in here. It was, the Vicente Ovalles, the Freddie Martinez, the numbers runners and stuff. Those were the people hanging out in here. Vince was actually cleaning the bar out.
It sounds like characters in a Elmore Leonard novel.
Elmore Leonard was sitting right in the middle of the bar one night.
This would be a bar.
We'll have an Elmore Leonard story as well.
Okay.
God bless him and rest him. But Vince was decorating the bar one day for Halloween. We were all helping out. My mom got these decals and decided to put them on the doors. Well, after Halloween was over, Vicente, he was a cleaning guy, he came to get these stickers off, and they kept tried to pull one off, and it took the finish off. Oh. And my mom looked at him and yelled at him and said, well, what are you doing? And he tried to tap dance through it. And basically she said, oh, well, that might have been my fault. But they got a Polish woman. She's not going to admit that she did anything wrong. But
a Polish woman owning the Irish bar in the Mexican neighborhood. Okay, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's America.
That's America. America.
But basically it was screwing up the finish. So we just reapplied them and left them there forever. And it's one of those fixed things that it draws people's attention. And they all ask what you just asked. Hey, what's the story behind those spirits on the doors? And I'm saying, well, but what's behind door spirit number one? What you find behind it. Yeah. But it works pretty well. But those are pretty fun. There's some decorations that still don't come down. But,
there's all kinds of interesting stuff here. I mean, there's a conversation piece around every corner.
All right, give me the Elmore Leonard story.
Yeah.
So as we this I get also. This is going to be great because I get to bring up one of my closest friends in the universe is Conrad Maziarz, who would be here with me today.
I've met that guy.
Yeah, I've seen him out on occasion. He's one of them 3 states, but this ain't one of them.
This ain't one of them.
But okay, so one night I was in here. Once again, it was the Mueller boys were working. They did, by the way, nobody's really out and about on these streets, but out pulls this black, I think one black Escalade, 2 other dark vehicles. They pulled up into the parking lot. All of a sudden, some filmographer, female type, walks in. Badges come in, but they're like private badge. I mean, they're police, but they're on private detail with Elmore Leonard. Oh. He comes in. I got my buddy Conrad down there. Hey, Elmore's here.
That corner is kind of Conrad's corner, kind of like Asshole Alley at Whiskey Jar.
Sure,
it's Conrad's corner here.
When he's not, that works. The owner's that's the owner's spot because you get to watch the whole room.
The owner's box.
Right. So we're sitting down there. In walks Elmore Leonard with his entourage. He sits down. Oh, and this after the smoking ban went in, I don't. I allegedly kept going a little longer than I should have. So this was still
some other places that have done that. So
sure.
Right. So that also puts a timestamp on this then.
Okay.
So it's you're just after the smoking ban, yet you're letting them get away with it a little bit.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And in this guy walks in with the entourage, and Cameron goes, "That's Elmore Leonard." I'm like, "Yeah. So who's he?" And I just
he's Elmore Leonard,
right? And that's what my buddy Cameron goes. He's one of my most favorite authors in the universe. So I'm like, well, that's cool. Go say hi.
So this is like he goes 2010, 2011.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And that's when we were emerging. Rodriguez is playing. This is happening. Things are starting to come back. You get a pulse and almost get a pulse to rejuvenate the patient to get it out. Yeah, it's a long story. Just get life back into this place. So he goes, "It's Elmore," and I'm like, "Well, go say hi." And he goes, "I can't." I'm like, "Why the hell not?" And,
well, remember at this time, Conrad was a librarian.
Right.
He has a different job now, but he was a librarian. I mean, Elmore Leonard's like oh, plus those movies were all dropping, right? Like Out of Sight had dropped.
Chili Palmer did this or that.
That stuff had all dropped.
So he was really nervous. It was his idol, and I'm like, well, dude, he's 6 chairs over there. This is the only opportunity. He's sitting right there. You're gonna feel like a jerk if you don't go say hi or
not a lot of authors have entourages.
Huh?
Not a lot of authors have.
Oh, he was. Oh, yeah. Because I find out. Yeah, why? Because when he was in, he. What are you here for? He goes, I want a glass of cheap wine and I want to smoke the cigar. And I'm like, all right. So we set him up with the cheap wine. Of course, that was easy. And then we got him up. We used to call them candy dishes back then. We gave him a candy dish. So he's sitting there in the middle of the bar. He's got his glasses on. He's looking around. I walked over to him first and I said, hey, how are you doing? I heard you're Elmore Leonard. I'm Shannon's place. And he goes, yeah. I go, hey, what's going on? What are you up to tonight? And he goes, we're driving around. I'm like, what you doing? He goes, well, I might or I might not be researching a book. And I'm like, well, good for you. That's pretty sweet. He started talking a little bit more. And that's why he was going around in all these little dive bars and the haunts to check it out for whatever he was writing. And I figured that out. And then Conrad, because I guess he maybe saw me over there because I was talking to him like I'm talking to you guys. It was like not a big deal. It's just the guy who wants a cheap wine and
there's no research unless he's talking to somebody.
Right.
But how about researchers sitting here staring at the mirror and his own face reflection in the mirror?
Conrad comes over, they start talking a little bit. He's like, I love your books. Oh, good for you and all that stuff. We hung out for a little minute there. And it was pretty cool because he just fit right in like so many people do. It's just it was rather easy.
I wonder what
to
book
get
got the Donovans. They probably called it Sonovans or something like that. Like they just changed the name by a letter, and then I went into so and so went into this bar, and so we're sitting at
But that was a fun one. And then who else? I mean, if you want to splash up against famous people, I mean, not only the baseball players, rest them, but Leo White lived down the street in that geodesic dome. We used to call it the Leodesic Dome, the geodesic dome. We used to call it the Murder Dome. That was the place.
Who was this?
This was Leo White, Jack's uncle.
Oh, Jack White's uncle. Okay.
Mm-hmm. He used to live down here White Stripe guy.
As he's known.
Right. Well, there's still connective tissue between him and his family and this bar. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I got to remember some of the names of the people, and I can't do it right now. But I do remember that dome, and I think that story was still out there in history because when Leo sold it, that kit came from, it was like a $25,000 styrofoam kit from Florida that he was assembling down the street like a crazy kook. So that's what endeared him to the neighborhood because he's a psycho. And we're watching him put this thing together, and it's a pretty sweet spot. He gets it all together, does fine. But then him and his wife, they break up. So you can't sell the place at the time because nobody's buying anything around this neighborhood at the time. They can't sell nothing, more pricey than dirt around here. And so they end up renting it. They rent it to these sheriffs or somebody in like Lake Orion or something like that. They're running an after hours club out of the joint. They've got off-duty sheriffs at the time. Allegedly,
that sounds
but it's
par
a way
for the course.
Right.
1991. Yeah.
Right. Well, it was the casinos were open. They would need someplace to go after the casino closed. They would come down to here. The sheriffs were watching the door, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden somebody shows up from the hometown, Lake Orion, somewhere off to the burbs, knew that money was going through the joint. So they show up here to shake the place down and steal and knock it off. They didn't get through the sheriff's at the door. Shotgun play got involved. Yep. Somebody got killed killed there. That made the news for a minute, shut the place down. And then that's when the story popped that, hey, I didn't know all that was happening, but that's what was happening.
My place is on the up and up.
Right,
a few blocks away.
Gambling at Rick's.
I'm shocked. See, there's gambling happening here. Here's your winning, sir.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
My favorite lines from my favorite movie. Everyone knows Casablanca is my favorite movie, so I use that line a lot.
Yeah, but those guys were pretty fun to have down there. I think it's fake, and I forget who picked it up. After that, the neighborhood kind of crept in there, stole all the copper. They poured a floor of copper pipe in there so they could keep it. The heat, that was the heat, and the scrappers took it all. They just beat the hell out of it. So whoever's got it now is just what do they call that? Entrepreneurial investments, whatever these kids are calling it nowadays.
So I've been down here. I remember coming down here for Motor City Soul Stomp. Started here. Dan Austin's Soul Stomps when you play that Northern Soul stuff. I come down here for those. Then it expanded off to those big places like Marble Bar where they needed all the room. Right. But it was quite the jam down in here back in the day.
Yeah, and it was wow. Growing up, it's like I don't know how everyone does it nowadays through their phone, but I always enjoyed going to a place that made you put you on a little edge, and you had to be a little scared when you walk into a place. That would keep you in line, that would keep you going. You got to have a little fear when you walk into some place.
You grew up different than me. I did not want a little fear when I walked into a place. It took me a while to get into that mode,
Dark places, but that's what made it memorable, though. I mean, that's what gave you the
but when I was like, early 20s, St. Andrews Hall was a dangerous place. Getting into St. Andrews. It was like,
going to the shelter, you didn't tell your parents.
Leland, right?
Todd's on what night? Thursday.
Yeah.
You went the other days. You'd be dancing with.
I go on those because I grew up right there. I was like 2 streets over. But so it was just a little bit dangerous,
you parked your car. It was always a beater. Windows. It didn't matter.
I got my battery stolen Sunday morning when I was at church.
It was all the rage.
I went to a little French church.
When the hell did you go to church?
St. Joachim on French Road that runs along the airport because they had a 12:30 mass, so I could sleep in.
Jeez.
Wow. Yeah.
But I remember when they're stealing batteries. But it'd be like 8 people in
church. But there's always just a little edgy, something a little edgy. I appreciate it. I don't run from it. I'm like, I'm there.
Right. Back in 1997.
You gotta say hi to a couple of people. People were like, hanging out. Chatting? Mary Meehan, Jerry Stolzenfeld.
Jeremy
Stolzenfeld. My sister Seal Cat, David Deason, Foxy, Beth Ricci.
Oh, Beth, how are you?
Yeah.
Old friend of mine.
And Art Young, Artstasio Young, and Eric. Eric, we're going to be golfing with Eric. Sheltis at Cave Radio.
On Saturday, we'll be golfing there.
Cross-pollinating with another podcast company or radio, internet.
Whatever you want to call it.
People, yes. I don't know, whatever people. This noise that we do on the line.
This stuff we do.
We're going golfing with the Cave Radio broadcasting folks on Saturday
in Novi.
That's the thing. It's like this. It's like community, right? It's like it's not being afraid to help each other, even though they're competitors, but they're we're friendly. So it's fun. Or we're trying to be. Anyway.
We're trying to have fun. I'll tell you what. This has been a great hour. With Shannon Lowell.
Huh? Hour?
It's been an hour, buddy. Just telling stories, getting to know more about the bones of this place that I've been coming to for years and do love to come to. And now I'm so glad that I'm now within an $11 Uber ride because I was up when I was out in Warren and St. Louis Shores. I wasn't down here quite often. Now I'm back in the Hamtramck, a couple blocks from you. And it's real close and easy to get here. So
we could probably kick open a couple shifts for you, pal.
I know you've been trying to do that for a while, haven't you? That's we'll see.
I appreciate this, and I don't like lumbering around memory lane too often, but you guys have made this pretty easy. It's all right.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being a wonderful host and having some fine whiskey behind the bar. Even though it's not an Irish pub, I'm getting my Irish whiskey on. It makes me happy.
It's all good bars. It is what it needs to be right now. For anybody who comes in.
And it ain't going anywhere anytime soon.
All right. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, do all those podcast things in all the podcast places.
That's Jamie Flanagan over there.
That is August Gitschlag, and we will see y'all again very soon.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
And Nancy, thank you.
My privilege.
Our barmaid, Nancy, she was fantastic.